Hello everyone, welcome to my studio. In this video, I want to show you guys how I make a little dog memorial. Hello everyone. Well, I'm going to take this opportunity and show a sculpture that I'm working on for a client. And as you guys know, I'm doing things a little bit differently now in the Critter Creator. For those of you that follow my animal art on Facebook, commissions obviously get priority over anything that I'm doing in the studio. And I'm working on a dog memorial right now and thought that this would be a perfect opportunity to show some of the early stages of a dog sculpture. Dogs are by far one of the most common things that I make. And so while we were going to do dogs a little later in the future of my tutorial series, I might as well show with this sculpture some of the steps involved, some of the phases that I go through when I do a dog memorial or a dog model. So let's go to the workstation right now and I'll show you where I am with the sculpture. Okay, so first and foremost, to my client, I'm very sorry for the loss of their dog. This is going to be a dog memorial, and I'm working on pictures that I received from my client to make this dog. Now, this is far from finished, okay? This is the very beginning stage of a dog sculpture. And here I left it open on purpose so that I can show the interior of the armature. You see there's tinfoil there. That's a big thing because that's what I use to fill as filler material for the sculpture. This way I don't use I can plug up any holes and I don't use a lot of clay in the process. Okay, also this stuff heats up inside when you bake it and it causes the clay to harden from the inside out, which is a good thing. Now I am using a mix of green stuff, resin clay, right, with a little bit of this Avi's, which is also an epoxy clay, right? I mix those two together, then I mix it with my Super Sculpey clay. So if we're talking about ratios, it would be a 1-to-1 ratio for these two clays, and then I add a 2-to-1 of this clay. So a nice big ball of Super Sculpey, and I mix it with smaller amounts of this stuff. And I do it by eye until I feel a material, a medium that's good to work with, right? So the clay needed a lot of conditioning, and so I'm using a Sculpey conditioner. This is an oily substance, and it helps reactivate the oils in the clay because I don't want to work with it while it's brittle. It won't do what it's supposed to do. Now, as I said, this is not finished. I did all the texturing, despite the fact that I will be adding more clay to do more of a belly here and then kind of fix that little angle. This dog also had long curly hair, which has to be added. There are ways of kind of representing that in the model, and I'll probably use green stuff for that because green stuff is excellent for that kind of detail. Now you can see green stuff in here. I actually made the hip bones to kind of give me a little guide of where the hip bones are, right? And I need to cover the entire sculpture in clay, but I started doing the fur texture, and despite the fact that I'm going to cover a little bit of this detail with new clay, it doesn't matter because this provides a nice anchor point for the new clay. And what I've done is I've made some lines where the fur theoretically parts, and I kind of did some fur detail around those areas. These are some of the areas that I will probably keep that I won't be covering in new clay. I may do a little bit more clay here on the base of the neck with some fur. And then, of course, the head, the neck goes up a little more, and then there's the anchor point for the head. So it still needs a lot of work. This is sort of the preliminary figure. But I've gotten pretty far, and by tomorrow or the next day, when I do the next update, you will probably see a lot of this covered in clay. You know, the rear end here has to be worked on, and this clay will dry on its own. I don't need to bake it because I mixed it with the resin clays. The hardeners on the green stuff actually activate the hardeners on the Super Sculpey. So I'm going to continue working on this dog, and again, I'm very sorry for the loss of their dog. Once I have this figure complete, then we move on to the painting phases, and that's a whole other phase of work that occurs. Okay, so once I have all the shapes I want and I've developed all the fur that I want, the dog gets painted, it gets removed from this holder, and I put it on a wooden base for my client. And then of course it has to get shipped. So still some work to do, but I figured that we're not up to dogs in my tutorial series. We're still working on birds, but I figured that this would be a good opportunity to show a dog in the making. And we're going to go back and talk all about armatures and how I use skeletal anatomy to make my armatures. All right, folks, thank you very much. Okay, and that was a quick update, mostly for my clients from Facebook. I will be continuing with the dog a little bit more today. Then I have a ton of other things to do in the studio. There's a lot of things coming up this week, projects and sorts. So stay tuned for that. This Wednesday, we will finish the little sparrow that I've been working on, and we will paint it up and then move on to other things in the Critter Creator series. So stay tuned for that. All right, folks, thank you very much, and talk very soon.